Chapter 1. Unexpected Homecoming. Ethan had always taken pride in his work as a long-distance truck driver. The road was his second home, the hum of the engine a constant companion. But after weeks on the road, nothing could compare to the anticipation of seeing his wife, Rachel, and their two daughters, Emily and Sophie. This time, a stroke of luck had allowed Ethan to return home 2 days ahead of schedule. He was eager to surprise his family, especially since Rachel didn't expect him until later in the week. As he turned onto his street, Ethan's heart raced with excitement. But that excitement quickly turned to confusion and suspicion when he saw an unfamiliar car parked in his driveway. The sleek black sedan was unmistakably Tyler S., the youngest son of Bruce, the owner of the transportation company where Ethan worked. Tyler was known for being the company troublemaker, always boasting about his conquests and escapades. Ethan had never liked the guy, but he never imagined seeing Tyler's car in front of his own house. Ethan pulled over to the side of the road and watched as Rachel and Tyler emerged from the house, their daughters trailing behind them. Tyler was carrying a rig bag, the kind Ethan and other truckers used for essentials on the road. Ethan's heart sank as he observed Rachel and Tyler exchange a tender moment, oblivious to his presence. They looked like a happy family, completely at ease with each other. Using his phone, Ethan recorded the scene, his hands shaking with a mix of anger and betrayal. Rachel and Tyler didn't even notice his truck as they drove off, too engrossed in their own world. Ethan followed them at a distance, watching as they dropped Emily and Sophie off at school. It was a scene that should have been mundane, but now felt loaded with betrayal. Returning to his house, Ethan's mind raced. He needed answers, and he needed them now. He parked in the driveway and stepped inside, the house eerily quiet. Everything seemed normal at first glance. His daughters' rooms were just as they always were, and the master bedroom looked untouched. But something felt off. Ethan's gaze was drawn to a faint light coming from under the door to the third floor, a space they had always treated as an unfinished attic. Curiosity and dread propelled Ethan up the stairs. He opened the door and was met with a shocking sight. The attic was no longer a dusty storage space. It had been transformed into a luxurious living area. A large master bedroom, bigger than the one downstairs, with walk-in closets, a sitting area, and even a small entertainment setup with a TV and DVD player. The room was clearly lived in. On a small table, Ethan found a stack of DVDs. He inserted one into the player and was greeted by a homemade video of Rachel and Tyler in an intimate moment. It was a side of Rachel Ethan had never seen, a side she had hidden from him for their entire marriage. The realization that his wife had been living a double life hit him like a freight train. Ethan methodically recorded everything with his phone, ensuring he had enough evidence to confront Rachel and Tyler. He rummaged through the walk-in closets, finding clothes that clearly belonged to Tyler, and more of Rachel's clothes, including items Ethan had never seen her wear. Feeling sick to his stomach, Ethan packed a suitcase with his clothes and the incriminating DVD. He called his father, explaining the situation and asking for help. His father, always practical, suggested opening their new store sooner than planned. Ethan agreed and decided he would move into the apartment above the store once it was ready. Next, Ethan drove to Bruce's office. Bruce, a devout Christian, was shocked and appalled when Ethan showed him the video. He immediately disowned Tyler and promised to support Ethan in any way possible. Ethan quit his job on the spot, knowing he needed to focus on the impending divorce and custody battle. Determined to protect his daughters, Ethan headed to their school. He spoke with the guidance counselor and explained the situation, ensuring there would be no misunderstandings. He then sat down with Emily and Sophie, explaining as gently as he could that he and Rachel would be getting a divorce. The girls were shocked and upset, but they understood the seriousness of the situation. That evening, Ethan returned to the house one last time. He left a bouquet of wilted flowers on the bed, along with a card that said, "We love you, Uncle Tyler," signed by his daughters. He placed Rachel's favorite baby doll, cut into pieces, next to the flowers. It was a bitter gesture, but Ethan wanted Rachel to understand the gravity of her betrayal. Ethan drove to David S. house, a close friend and neighbor who had offered him a place to stay. As he parked in David S. garage, he felt a strange sense of calm. The storm was far from over, but Ethan knew he had taken the first crucial steps. With the support of his friends and family, he was ready to face whatever came next. David greeted Ethan with a beer and a reassuring smile. "You've done the right thing, Ethan. We'll get through this together." Ethan nodded, grateful for the support. "Thanks, David. I don't know what I'd do without you." As the sun set, Ethan settled into David's guest room, exhausted but resolute. The battle ahead would be tough, but he was ready. For his daughters, for himself, and for the life he deserved, Ethan would fight. And he would win. Chapter 2: Shocking Discoveries. Ethan woke up early the next morning, the weight of the previous day's revelations still heavy on his mind. He had barely slept, his thoughts consumed by the images of Rachel and Tyler together. Determined to get to the bottom of everything, he decided to dig deeper into the attic and uncover the full extent of the betrayal. Ethan headed back to his house, parking discreetly a few houses down to avoid drawing attention. He let himself in quietly and went straight up to the attic. The room was still as he had left it, but now he took the time to examine it more thoroughly. He started with the closets. Tyler's clothes filled one side, expensive suits and casual wear mixed together. Ethan found a small drawer containing personal items, watches, cufflinks, and a few photos of Tyler with Rachel. The other side of the closet held Rachel's clothes, including several outfits Ethan had never seen before, lingerie and evening wear that made his stomach churn with anger. On the nightstand, Ethan found a journal. His hands shook as he opened it, realizing it was Rachel's. The entries detailed her affair with Tyler, starting with innocent encounters and escalating into a full-blown relationship. She wrote about the thrill of sneaking around, her justifications for betraying Ethan, and her growing attachment to Tyler. Each word felt like a knife to his heart, but Ethan read on, determined to understand how deep the deception went. The journal also revealed Rachel's plans for the future. She dreamed of leaving Ethan and starting a new life with Tyler. She even discussed taking Emily and Sophie with her, rationalizing that they would be happier without their father constantly on the road. Ethan's rage grew with each entry, but he forced himself to stay calm and focused. Next, Ethan checked the entertainment setup. He found more DVDs, most of them labeled with dates and cryptic titles. He selected a few at random and played them, his worst fears confirmed as each one depicted intimate moments between Rachel and Tyler. The footage showed them in various rooms of the house, even in his and Rachel's bed. It was a violation of the highest order. Determined to gather all the evidence he could, Ethan packed the DVDs and the journal into a bag. He took photos of the attic, making sure to capture every incriminating detail. He wanted to be fully prepared for the legal battle ahead. Ethan's phone buzzed. It was his lawyer, recommended by his father. Ethan stepped outside to take the call, breathing in the cool morning air to steady his nerves. "Ethan, this is Mark Anderson. Your father filled me in on your situation. I'm here to help you through this," Mark said, his voice steady and reassuring. "Thanks, Mark. I've gathered some evidence, videos, photos, and a journal. I need to make sure I'm ready to fight for my daughters and get out of this marriage as cleanly as possible. Good job on collecting evidence. Bring everything to my office today. We need to file for divorce and custody immediately. The sooner we act, the better our chances." "I'll be there in an hour," Ethan replied, feeling a surge of determination. Ethan left the house, ensuring everything was locked up tight. He drove to Mark's office, his mind racing with thoughts of the impending confrontation. When he arrived, Mark greeted him with a firm handshake and led him into a conference room. "Show me what you've got," Mark said, gesturing to the bag. Ethan laid out the DVDs, the journal, and the photos. Mark reviewed each piece carefully, nodding in approval. "This is solid evidence. We'll use it to build a strong case for you. Have you thought about where you will stay during this process? I've arranged to stay with a friend, David, and my father is helping me open a new business, which will include an apartment where I can live with my daughters. Perfect. Stability is crucial for custody cases. The more stable your environment, the better your chances. We'll file the paperwork today and serve Rachel with the divorce papers as soon as possible." Ethan felt a sense of relief wash over him. Having a plan in place made the situation feel more manageable. He spent the next few hours with Mark, going over the details and signing documents. By the time he left the office, the sun was high in the sky, and Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose. As he drove back to David's house, Ethan's mind wandered to his daughters. Emily and Sophie were at school, blissfully unaware of the turmoil at home. Ethan resolved to protect them at all costs. He would not let Rachel's betrayal tear their family apart. Back at David's, Ethan found a quiet corner to call his father. "Dad, everything's in motion. Mark thinks we have a strong case. I'm glad to hear that, son. Remember, you have the family's full support. We'll get through this. Thanks, Dad. I'm going to see the girls later and explain what's happening. They deserve to know the truth." Ethan spent the rest of the day preparing for the conversation with his daughters. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but honesty was the only way forward. As evening approached, he drove to pick up Emily and Sophie from school. The girls were excited to see him, their faces lighting up as they ran to his truck. "Dad, you are home early!" Emily exclaimed. Ethan hugged them tightly, his heart aching at the thought of their world being turned upside down. "I missed you both so much. We need to talk about something important. But first, let's get some ice cream." At the ice cream parlor, Ethan watched his daughters with a mixture of love and sadness. He knew this moment of happiness would soon be overshadowed by the difficult conversation ahead. Once they were settled back in the truck, he took a deep breath and began. "Emily, Sophie, there's something I need to tell you. Your mom and I are going to get a divorce." The girls stared at him in shock. "Why, Dad? What happened?" Sophie asked, her voice trembling. Ethan chose his words carefully. "Your mom and I have been having problems for a while. I found out that she's been spending a lot of time with someone else, and it's not fair to any of us. I want you both to know that I love you very much, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we stay together." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. "We want to stay with you, Dad." "You will," Ethan promised. "We're going to get through this together. I've already talked to a lawyer, and we're going to make sure you are taken care of." The drive home was quiet, the weight of the conversation hanging heavy in the air. Ethan pulled into David's driveway, and the girls followed him inside, their faces pale and their steps slow. David greeted them warmly, trying to lift their spirits. "Hey there, Emily, Sophie. How about we order some pizza and watch a movie tonight?" The girls managed small smiles, grateful for the distraction. As they settled in for the evening, Ethan couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. The road ahead was long and filled with challenges, but he knew he wasn't alone. With the support of his friends and family, he would rebuild his life and create a better future for his daughters. As the night wore on, Ethan sat on the porch with David, sharing a quiet moment of reflection. "I am doing the right thing, aren't I?" Ethan asked, his voice tinged with uncertainty. David nodded firmly. "You are, Ethan. It's not going to be easy, but you are fighting for what is right. And that's what matters." Ethan looked up at the stars, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. He had taken the first steps towards a new beginning, and for the first time in a long while, he felt a glimmer of hope. The fight was far from over, but Ethan was ready. For his daughters, for himself, and for the life they all deserved. Chapter 3. The Confrontation. Ethan woke up early, his mind already churning with thoughts of the confrontation that lay ahead. He knew it was time to face Rachel directly, armed with the evidence he had collected. His daughters, Emily and Sophie, were still asleep, and he took a moment to watch them, feeling a deep sense of responsibility to protect their future. He spent the morning at Mark's office, finalizing the divorce paperwork and discussing the best strategy for serving Rachel. Mark emphasized the importance of delivering the news calmly and firmly, ensuring that Ethan maintained the upper hand. "I have arranged for a process server to deliver the papers at your house this evening," Mark said. "It's crucial that you are there to make sure everything goes smoothly. Do you have a plan for talking to Rachel?" Ethan nodded. I am going to lay out the facts and make it clear that I am not backing down. I've got the evidence, and I am prepared to fight for full custody of Emily and Sophie." Mark leaned back in his chair, a look of approval on his face. "Good. Stay composed and focused. You have the advantage here." Don T. let her manipulate the situation. Feeling more prepared, Ethan left the office and headed back to David S. house. He spent the afternoon playing with his daughters, trying to keep their minds off the upheaval. Emily and Sophie sensed the tension, but didn't press him for answers, their trust in their father unwavering. As evening approached, Ethan took a deep breath and drove back to his house. He parked a short distance away, watching as the process server approached the front door. Rachel S. car was in the driveway, and Ethan felt a surge of determination. It was time to face the truth head-on. The process server knocked on the door, and Rachel answered, her expression turning from surprise to confusion as she accepted the envelope. Ethan stepped out of his truck and walked up the driveway, his heart pounding but his resolve firm. "Ethan? What's this going on?" Rachel asked, her voice trembling as she opened the envelope and began to read the divorce papers. Ethan stood tall, his gaze steady. "Rachel, I know everything. I've seen the videos, read your journal, and I've got the evidence. This ends now." Rachel's face paled and she took a step back. "Ethan, please, let us talk about this. It's not what you think." Ethan shook his head, his anger rising. "Not what I think? You've been lying to me for years, Rachel. You've been living a double life with Tyler, and you didn't even try to hide it. This isn't just about us anymore. It's about Emily and Sophie. They deserve better than this." Tears welled up in Rachel S. eyes, and she reached out to touch Ethan's arm. "Ethan, I am sorry. I never wanted to hurt you or the girls. I was confused, and Tyler, he just happened. But we can work through this. We can fix it." Ethan stepped back, shaking his head. "No, Rachel, it is too late for that. I am filing for divorce and full custody of the girls. You've betrayed me and our family. There's no going back." Rachel S. tears turned to anger, and she clenched her fists. "You think you can just take the girls away from me? They're my children too, Ethan. You're on the road all the time. How are you going to take care of them?" "I've already made arrangements," Ethan replied, his voice cold and determined. "I'm opening a new business, and I've got a place for us to live. I'll be there for them every day, something you clearly haven't been." Rachel S.'s face twisted in rage. "You think you are so perfect, Ethan. But you are not. You're just as flawed as the rest of us." Ethan took a deep breath, calming himself. "I am not perfect, Rachel, but I'm not the one who destroyed our family. That S on you. I'll see you in court." Without another word, Ethan turned and walked away, his heart heavy, but his resolve unshaken. He got back into his truck and drove to David S. house, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. The confrontation had been necessary, but it had taken a toll on him. David was waiting for him on the porch, a look of concern on his face. "How did it go?" Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It was tough, but it's done. She knows I am serious, and she has been served. Now it's up to the court." David nodded, clapping Ethan on the back. "You did the right thing. Let us get inside. The girls are waiting for you." Ethan followed David into the house, where Emily and Sophie greeted him with hugs and questions about their day. He put on a brave face, knowing that the hardest part was yet to come. But for now, he was content to be with his daughters, drawing strength from their love and innocence. Later that night, after the girls were in bed, Ethan sat down with David and a glass of whiskey. "I don't know what is going to happen, David, but I know I have to fight for them." David raised his glass in a toast. "And you will, Ethan. You are a good father and a good man. We are all here to support you." Ethan clinked his glass against David S., feeling a surge of gratitude. "Thank you. I couldn't do this without you." As he sipped his drink, Ethan thought about the future. The road ahead was uncertain, but he was determined to navigate it with strength and integrity. For Emily and Sophie, for his own peace of mind, and for the life they all deserved, he would keep fighting. The night wore on, and Ethan eventually went to bed, feeling a strange sense of calm. He had faced Rachel, laid out the truth, and set the wheels of justice in motion. It was a start, and for now, that was enough. Chapter 4. Legal Maneuvers. The next morning, Ethan woke up feeling a sense of grim determination. Today was the day to take the next crucial steps in his fight for justice and custody of his daughters. He prepared a quick breakfast for Emily and Sophie, trying to keep their spirits up with cheerful conversation, even though his mind was preoccupied with the upcoming legal battles. After dropping the girls off at school, Ethan headed to Mark Anderson's office. The sun was shining brightly, but it did little to lift the weight off his shoulders. He walked into the building with a firm resolve, knowing that every step he took now was for the future of his family. Mark greeted him with a nod, leading him into the conference room where they had met the previous day. "Good to see you, Ethan. We have a lot to go over today. I've filed the initial paperwork for the divorce and custody, but we need to prepare for the possible counteractions from Rachel's side." Ethan settled into his chair, the seriousness of the situation sinking in. "I am ready. Whatever it takes, I'll do it." Mark laid out a series of documents on the table. "We need to establish a clear timeline of events. Document every incident, every piece of evidence you've collected, and any witnesses who can corroborate your story. This will help build a strong case for full custody." Ethan nodded, pulling out his notebook and the evidence he had gathered. "I've got everything here. Videos, Rachel's journal, photos of the attic, and my own observations." "Good," Mark said, examining the materials. "We'll also need to anticipate Rachel's defense. She may try to paint you as an absentee father due to your job. We need to counter that by showing the stability and support system you have in place now." Ethan thought for a moment. "David, my friend I am staying with, can vouch for me, and my father has been incredibly supportive, helping me set up the new business and apartment." Mark made a note. "Excellent. We'll get statements from them. Also, we should prepare for the possibility that Rachel might claim you were overreacting, or that she wasn't planning to leave with Tyler. Your evidence will counter that, but we need to be thorough." They spent the next few hours meticulously going through the evidence and planning their strategy. By the time they were done, Ethan felt a mix of exhaustion and relief. He knew they had a solid plan, but the fight was far from over. After leaving Mark's office, Ethan drove to the construction site of his new business. His father, Tom, was there overseeing the progress. The site was bustling with activity, and the framework of the gas station and convenience store was already taking shape. Above it, the outline of the apartment was visible. Tom waved Ethan over, a proud smile on his face. "Look at this, Ethan. It is coming together faster than we expected. You'll have your new home in no time." Ethan nodded, feeling a surge of gratitude. "Thanks, Dad. I couldn't have done this without you." Tom clapped a hand on his son's shoulder. "We are family, we stick together, and I know how much this means to you and the girls." As they walked through the site, Tom pointed out various features of the store and apartment. "We've made sure everything is top-notch. The apartment will have 3 bedrooms, a spacious living area, and all the amenities you need. It'll be a perfect place for you and the girls to start fresh." Ethan felt a glimmer of hope. "It's going to be great, Dad. I can't wait to move in and start this new chapter." They spent the rest of the afternoon at the site, discussing the project and making plans for the future. As the sun began to set, Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was building something not just for himself, but for Emily and Sophie, and it gave him strength. The next day, Ethan met with David to discuss the situation further. They sat on David's porch, sipping coffee and talking about the upcoming court proceedings. "David, I'm going to need your testimony to show that I have a stable environment for the girls," Ethan said, his tone serious. David nodded without hesitation. "You can count on me, Ethan. I've seen what you've been through, and I'll do whatever it takes to help you. Thanks, David, it means a lot. And I'm also thinking about asking Sarah to testify. She's seen firsthand how Rachel's actions have affected the girls." David raised an eyebrow. "Sarah's been a rock for you through all this. She'll definitely be a strong ally." Ethan sighed, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. "I just want to make sure the girls are safe and happy. They deserve better than this mess." David leaned forward, his expression earnest. "And they will be, Ethan. You're doing everything right. Just keep your head up and stay focused." As the days passed, Ethan continued to prepare for the court hearing. He spent every moment he could with Emily and Sophie, reassuring them that everything would be okay. He also worked closely with Mark and his father, ensuring that the new business was on track and that their case was solid. One evening, while the girls were playing in the yard, Ethan received a call from Sarah. "Hey, Ethan, I just wanted to check in and see how you are holding up." Ethan smiled at the sound of her voice. "I'm doing okay, Sarah. It's been tough, but we are getting through it. How about you?" "I'm good," she replied. "I've been thinking about you and the girls a lot. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know." "Actually, there is something," Ethan said, his tone serious. "I need your testimony in court. You have seen how Rachel's actions have impacted the girls, and your perspective would be invaluable." Sarah didn't hesitate. "Of course, Ethan. I'll do whatever it takes to help you and the girls. Thank you, Sarah. It means a lot to have you on our side." As the days turned into weeks, the court date drew closer. Ethan continued to prepare, balancing his time between work, his daughters, and the ongoing legal battle. Despite the challenges, he felt a growing sense of determination. He was fighting for his family, and he wouldn't stop until he had secured a better future for them. Finally, the day of the court hearing arrived. Ethan dressed carefully, ensuring he looked composed and professional. He dropped the girls off at school, giving them reassuring hugs and promises that everything would be okay. At the courthouse, Ethan met with Mark, Sarah, David, and his father. They formed a united front, ready to face whatever Rachel and her lawyer had prepared. As they entered the courtroom, Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. This was it, the moment of truth. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the battle ahead. Rachel was already there, sitting with her lawyer. She glanced at Ethan, her expression a mix of anger and desperation. Ethan met her gaze steadily, refusing to be intimidated. The judge entered, and the courtroom fell silent. The proceedings began, with Mark presenting their case methodically, laying out the evidence and calling witnesses. David testified first, followed by Sarah, each providing compelling accounts of Ethan's dedication to his daughters and the stability of his new living situation. When it was Ethan's turn to take the stand, he spoke with conviction. "Your Honor, I've always done my best to provide for my family. I love my daughters more than anything, and I want to give them a safe, stable home. Rachel's actions have shown that she cannot be trusted to prioritize their well-being. I am asking for full custody so I can ensure they grow up in a loving, secure environment." Rachel's lawyer attempted to paint Ethan as an absentee father, but Mark countered every point with evidence of Ethan's commitment and the support system he had in place. As the hearing drew to a close, the judge took a moment to review the evidence and testimony. The tension in the courtroom was palpable, everyone holding their breath as they awaited the decision. Finally, the judge looked up, his expression stern but fair. Based on the evidence presented and the testimonies heard, it is clear that Mr. Ethan has demonstrated a commitment to his daughter's well-being and has established a stable environment for them. Therefore, I am granting Mr. Ethan full custody of Emily and Sophie. Ethan's heart soared with relief and gratitude. He glanced at Rachel, who looked devastated but resigned. The judge continued, outlining the terms of the custody arrangement and emphasizing the importance of co-parenting cooperatively for the sake of the children. As the hearing concluded, Ethan felt a weight lift off his shoulders. He had won the first major battle, securing custody of his daughters and taking a significant step toward rebuilding their lives. Outside the courtroom, Ethan was surrounded by his supporters. His father, David, Sarah, and Mark all congratulated him, their smiles reflecting his own sense of triumph. "Thank you, everyone," Ethan said, his voice filled with emotion. "I couldn't have done this without your support." Sarah stepped forward, hugging him tightly. "You did it, Ethan. You're an amazing father, and the girls are lucky to have you." Ethan smiled, feeling a renewed sense of hope and determination. This is just the beginning. We are going to build a new life, and it's going to be better than ever. As he walked out of the courthouse, the sun shining brightly overhead, Ethan felt a sense of peace. The road ahead was still filled with challenges, but he knew he had the strength and support to face them. For Emily and Sophie, for his own peace of mind, and for the life they all deserved, Ethan was ready to keep fighting and keep building a better future. Chapter 5. Family Revelations. Ethan felt a sense of relief after the court ruling, but he knew the journey was far from over. Now that he had custody of Emily and Sophie, his priority was to ensure they felt safe and loved. He moved them into David's house temporarily while waiting for the construction of their new home to be completed. The days that followed were filled with laughter and hope as they adjusted to their new routine. One evening, after a busy day at the construction site, Ethan sat down with his daughters in the living room. Emily and Sophie were playing a board game, their giggles filling the room. Ethan watched them with a smile, grateful for these moments of normalcy amidst the chaos. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was Sarah. "Hey, Ethan, I was wondering if I could come over and talk. There's something important we need to discuss." "Of course, Sarah. Come on over," Ethan replied, curious about what she had to say. Within half an hour, Sarah arrived, looking a bit anxious. Ethan invited her in, and they sat down in the kitchen with cups of coffee. "What's on your mind, Sarah?" he asked, sensing her unease. Sarah took a deep breath. "Ethan, I need to tell you something about Rachel and Tyler. It's something I have known for a while, but I didn't know how to bring it up." Ethan's brow furrowed in concern. "Go on." Sarah hesitated before speaking. "A few years ago, Rachel confided in me that she had feelings for Tyler. At first, I thought it was just a harmless crush, but then it became clear that it was more than that. She talked about how Tyler made her feel alive, how he understood her in ways she felt you didn't. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he remained silent, letting Sarah continue. "Rachel asked me not to tell anyone, especially you. I didn't know what to do, so I kept quiet, hoping it would blow over. But then she started seeing him more often, and it became obvious that it was serious. I should have told you, Ethan. I am so sorry." Ethan sighed, the weight of Sarah's confession settling on his shoulders. "I appreciate your honesty, Sarah. I wish you had told me sooner, but I understand why you didn't. This whole situation is a mess." Sarah reached out and placed a hand on Ethan's. "I just want you to know that I am here for you and the girls. You are not alone in this." Ethan squeezed her hand, grateful for her support. "Thanks, Sarah. It means a lot to have you by my side." Their conversation was interrupted by Emily and Sophie, who came running into the kitchen, their game forgotten. "Dad, can we watch a movie?" Emily asked, her eyes shining with excitement. Ethan smiled, ruffling her hair. "Sure, sweetheart. Let's pick out a good one." As they settled in for movie night, Ethan felt a renewed sense of determination. He would continue to protect his daughters and build a better future for them, no matter what challenges lay ahead. A few days later, Ethan received a call from Mark. "Ethan, I need to discuss something with you. It is about the financial aspect of the divorce." Ethan's heart sank. "What is it, Mark?" Mark's voice was steady. "We need to address the issue of spousal support. Rachel's lawyer is pushing for a substantial amount, claiming she was financially dependent on you and that she is unable to support herself." Ethan clenched his jaw. "After everything she's done, she expects me to support her? I know it as frustrating, Ethan, but we need to handle this strategically. We all need to prove that she is capable of supporting herself and that the amount they are asking for is unreasonable." Ethan nodded, though Mark couldn't see him. "What do you need from me?" "I need any financial documents you have that show Rachel's earnings and expenditures. We also need to demonstrate that you are using your resources to provide a stable home for Emily and Sophie." Ethan spent the next few days gathering all the necessary documents, working closely with Mark to build a strong case. It was a draining process, but he knew it was essential to secure his daughter's future. In the midst of all this, Ethan received an unexpected visit from Bruce, his former boss. Bruce had been a pillar of support since the beginning, but this visit seemed different. "Ethan, can we talk?" Bruce asked, his tone serious. "Of course, Bruce." "Come on in," Ethan replied, leading him to the living room. Bruce sat down, looking troubled. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened with Tyler. I know he's my son, but his actions were inexcusable. I feel responsible in some way." Ethan shook his head. "Bruce, you can blame yourself for Tyler's choices. He made those decisions on his own." Bruce sighed. I know, but it's hard not to feel guilty. I want to help you, Ethan. I've been talking to some colleagues and we've come up with a way to support your new business venture. Consider it a gesture of goodwill. Ethan was taken aback. Bruce, that's incredibly generous. I don't know what to say. Just promise me you'll use it to build a better life for your daughters, Bruce said, his eyes earnest. Ethan nodded, feeling a surge of gratitude. I promise, Bruce. Thank you. With Bruce's support, Ethan felt more confident about the future. The financial backing would ensure that his new business would thrive, providing a stable and secure environment for Emily and Sophie. As the weeks passed, the construction of the new store and apartment progressed rapidly. Ethan spent his days overseeing the project, ensuring everything was perfect for the grand opening. The anticipation of a fresh start kept him motivated, even as he continued to navigate the complexities of the divorce. One evening, as Ethan was finishing up at the construction site, his phone rang. It was his father, Tom. Hey, Ethan, I've got some news. What is it, Dad? Ethan asked, curious. Rachel's parents have been trying to reach out to you. They want to talk about the girls. Ethan felt a pang of anxiety. What do they want? They didn't say much, but it seems they are concerned about how the divorce is affecting Emily and Sophie. They want to meet with you. Ethan sighed. I'll talk to them. Maybe we can find a way to make this easier for the girls. The next day, Ethan arranged to meet Rachel's parents at a local cafe. They arrived looking worried, their expressions softening when they saw Ethan. Thank you for meeting with us, Ethan, Rachel's mother, Nancy said, her voice filled with emotion. We are so sorry for everything that happened. Ethan nodded, his tone respectful. I appreciate that, Nancy. What did you want to discuss? Rachel's father, Charles, spoke up. We are concerned about the girls. We want to make sure they re-okay and that they're not caught in the middle of this. Ethan felt a surge of protectiveness. I am doing everything I can to ensure they re-safe and happy. They were adjusting, but it's been hard on them. Nancy reached out and took Ethan's hand. We know you are a good father, Ethan. We just want to be involved in their lives. They are our grandchildren and we love them. Ethan considered their words carefully. I understand. I want Emily and Sophie to have a strong support system. If you are willing to work with me and respect the boundaries I set, I think we can make this work. Charles nodded, relief evident on his face. We'll do whatever it takes, Ethan. Thank you for giving us this chance. As they left the cafe, Ethan felt a sense of resolution. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but having Rachel's parents involved in the girls' lives could be beneficial. It was another step towards healing and rebuilding their family. Days turned into weeks, and finally, the grand opening of the new store and apartment arrived. The community gathered to celebrate, and Ethan felt a deep sense of accomplishment as he cut the ribbon, marking the beginning of a new chapter. Emily and Sophie ran around, excitedly exploring their new home. The apartment was everything Ethan had hoped for, spacious, comfortable, and filled with the warmth of a fresh start. As the sun set on the day of the grand opening, Ethan stood on the balcony of their new home, watching his daughters play in the yard below. Sarah joined him, a smile on her face. You did it, Ethan. This is amazing, she said, her voice filled with admiration. Ethan wrapped an arm around her, feeling a sense of peace. We did it, Sarah. I couldn't have done it without you and everyone else who supported us. Sarah leaned against him, her eyes reflecting the sunset. This is just the beginning. There is so much more to look forward to. Ethan nodded, his heart full of hope. You are right. This is the start of something beautiful, for Emily, Sophie, and all of us. As they stood together, watching the horizon, Ethan knew that the future was bright. The challenges they had faced had only made them stronger, and the love and support of those around them had given them the strength to move forward. For the first time in a long while, Ethan felt truly at peace. He had fought for his family, and now they were beginning a new journey together. The road ahead was filled with possibilities, and Ethan was ready to embrace each one, knowing that they would face whatever came their way together. Chapter 6. Showdown at Home. Ethan settled into his new routine, balancing work at the store, spending quality time with his daughters, and navigating the ongoing complexities of the divorce. The construction of the store and apartment had been a success, and the community's support made Ethan feel more optimistic about the future. One evening, as Ethan was closing up the store, he received a call from his lawyer, Mark. "Ethan, I have some news. Rachel's lawyer has requested a mediation meeting to discuss the financial settlement and custody arrangements. They want to meet tomorrow." Ethan felt a mix of anxiety and determination. "Thanks for letting me know, Mark. I'll be there. Let us get this resolved." The next day, Ethan met Mark at the mediation center. Rachel was already there with her lawyer, looking tense and apprehensive. Ethan took a deep breath, reminding himself to stay calm and focused. The mediator, a calm and experienced professional, began the session. "Thank you all for coming. Our goal today is to find a resolution that is fair to both parties and, most importantly, in the best interest of the children. Let us start with the financial settlement." Rachel's lawyer spoke first, outlining their demands for spousal support and financial compensation. Ethan listened patiently, knowing that Mark would counter their arguments effectively. When it was Mark's turn, he presented a well-documented case, highlighting Rachel's ability to support herself and the stability Ethan had provided for Emily and Sophie. The discussion was intense, with both sides presenting their arguments passionately. After hours of negotiation, the mediator suggested a break. Ethan stepped outside, needing a moment to clear his head. He walked to a nearby park, finding a bench where he could sit and gather his thoughts. As he sat there, Ethan's phone buzzed. It was a text from Sarah. "Just wanted to check in and see how you're holding up. Remember, you're doing this for Emily and Sophie. Stay strong." Ethan smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude. He replied, "Thanks, Sarah. Your support means everything. I'll keep you posted." When the break was over, Ethan returned to the mediation center, feeling more focused and determined. The discussion resumed, and after several more hours, they finally reached an agreement. Rachel would receive a reasonable financial settlement, but Ethan would retain full custody of the girls, with Rachel having scheduled visitation rights. As the session concluded, Ethan felt a sense of relief. The mediation had been tough, but they had reached a resolution that would allow him to move forward. He thanked Mark for his hard work and dedication. "You did great, Ethan." "This was a big step forward," Mark said, shaking his hand. "Thanks, Mark." "I couldn't have done it without you," Ethan replied, feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. That evening, Ethan returned home to find Emily and Sophie playing in the yard. He watched them for a moment, feeling a deep sense of love and pride. They had been through so much, but they were resilient and strong. As he walked into the house, Ethan noticed a figure standing on the porch. It was Tyler, looking agitated and desperate. Ethan's heart sank. He had hoped to avoid any further confrontations, but it seemed that Tyler had other plans. "Ethan, we need to talk," Tyler said, his voice tense. Ethan stepped onto the porch, keeping his distance. "What do you want, Tyler?" Tyler ran a hand through his hair, looking frustrated. "I need to explain. Rachel and I. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. I never wanted to hurt you or the girls." Ethan clenched his fists, struggling to keep his emotions in check. "You think that makes it okay? You betrayed me and destroyed my family. There's nothing you can say that will change that." Tyler took a step closer, his expression desperate. "Please, Ethan, I know I messed up, but I want to make things right. I need your help." Ethan stared at Tyler, incredulous. "You want my help? After everything you have done? You've got to be kidding me." Before Tyler could respond, Rachel arrived, having been informed of Tyler's presence. She looked between the two men, her face pale and strained. "Tyler, what are you doing here?" "I came to talk to Ethan," Tyler said, his voice unsteady. "We need to find a way to fix this." Rachel shook her head, tears in her eyes. "Tyler, there's no fixing this. We've done enough damage. We need to let Ethan and the girls move on." Ethan felt a surge of anger and frustration. "You two have caused enough pain. The best thing you can do now is stay away and let us heal." Tyler looked defeated, his shoulders slumping. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I really am." Rachel stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Ethan, I know you don't owe us anything, but please, For the sake of the girls, let's try to move forward peacefully." Ethan took a deep breath, trying to find some semblance of calm. "I am doing this for Emily and Sophie, but make no mistake, you both need to stay out of our lives. We've been through enough." Tyler nodded, his expression resigned. "I understand. I'll stay away." Rachel wiped her tears, looking at Ethan with a mixture of regret and gratitude. "Thank you, Ethan. I'll respect your wishes." As they left, Ethan felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him. He walked back into the house, closing the door behind him. Emily and Sophie looked up from their game, sensing his distress. "Dad, are you okay?" Sophie asked, her eyes wide with concern. Ethan managed a smile, kneeling down to hug them both. "I am okay, girls. Everything's going to be fine. We are going to be just fine." That night, Ethan sat on the porch, reflecting on the day's events. The confrontation with Tyler and Rachel had been intense, but it had also brought a sense of closure. He knew that moving forward wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to build a better life for his daughters. As he sat there, Sarah joined him, offering a comforting presence. "Hey, how did it go?" Ethan sighed, leaning back in his chair. "It was tough, but we reached an agreement, and Tyler showed up, trying to apologize. It was a lot to handle." Sarah placed a hand on his arm, her touch gentle. "I'm proud of you, Ethan. You handled it with strength and grace. You're doing an amazing job." Ethan looked at her, feeling a surge of gratitude and affection. "Thank you, Sarah. I couldn't have done this without you." Sarah smiled, her eyes warm and supportive. "We are in this together, Ethan. Every step of the way." As they sat together watching the stars, Ethan felt a sense of peace. The road ahead was still uncertain, but he knew he had the strength and support to face whatever challenges came their way. With Sarah by his side and his daughters as his guiding light, Ethan was ready to embrace the future and build a life filled with love, hope, and new beginnings. Chapter 7. Aftermath and New Beginnings. The morning after the intense confrontation with Tyler and Rachel, Ethan woke up feeling a mix of exhaustion and relief. The house was quiet, with Emily and Sophie still asleep. He took a moment to savor the peace before the day began, grateful for the stability he had worked so hard to create. As the sun rose, Ethan decided to take the girls out for a special breakfast. He wanted to celebrate the progress they had made and create a positive memory amidst the turmoil. He woke Emily and Sophie with a smile, his heart warming at their sleepy yet excited faces. "Girls, how about we go out for pancakes this morning?" Ethan suggested, his tone cheerful. Emily and Sophie exchanged excited glances. "Yes, pancakes!" they chorused, quickly getting ready. They drove to a nearby diner, a cozy place with a friendly atmosphere. As they enjoyed their breakfast, Ethan felt a sense of normalcy returning. The girls chatted about school, their friends, and their plans for the weekend. Ethan listened, his heart swelling with pride at their resilience. After breakfast, they headed to the park. The crisp autumn air was invigorating, and the park was alive with the vibrant colors of fall. Ethan watched as Emily and Sophie played, their laughter ringing through the air. It was a reminder of why he had fought so hard for moments like these, filled with joy and love. Later that afternoon, Ethan received a call from his father, Tom. "Ethan, I have some good news. The final paperwork for the store and apartment has been approved. We were ready to move forward." Ethan felt a surge of excitement. "That's great news, Dad. Thanks for all your help." Tom's voice was warm with pride. "You've done an amazing job, Ethan. I am proud of you. How about we have a small celebration tonight at the new place?" Ethan agreed, feeling a sense of accomplishment. That evening, they gathered at the new store and apartment. Tom had brought a bottle of champagne, and Sarah joined them with a homemade cake. Emily and Sophie were thrilled to explore their new home, their faces lighting up with excitement. As they toasted to new beginnings, Ethan looked around at the people who had supported him through the toughest times. His father, always a steady source of strength, Sarah, whose unwavering support had been a beacon of hope, and his daughters, who were the reason he fought so hard. Sarah raised her glass, her eyes sparkling. "To Ethan and his incredible journey. You've shown us all what it means to fight for love and family. Ethan felt a lump in his throat as he raised his glass. Thank you, everyone. I couldn't have done this without you. Here's to new beginnings and a brighter future. They clinked glasses, the moment filled with hope and gratitude. As they enjoyed the evening, Ethan felt a sense of peace he hadn't experienced in a long time. The future was uncertain, but he knew he had the strength and support to face whatever came his way. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. The grand opening of the store was a huge success, drawing support from the community. Ethan threw himself into the business, grateful for the distraction and the opportunity to build something meaningful. Emily and Sophie settled into their new routine, adjusting to their new home and school. Ethan made sure to spend quality time with them, creating a sense of stability and security. They had regular family dinners, movie nights, and weekend outings, all of which helped to strengthen their bond. One evening, as Ethan was tucking the girls into bed, Sophie looked up at him with a serious expression. "Dad, are we going to be okay?" Ethan sat on the edge of her bed, his heart aching at her question. "Yes, sweetheart. We are going to be just fine. We've been through a lot, but we are strong, and we have each other. That is what matters." Emily nodded in agreement. "We love you, Dad. Thank you for everything." Ethan hugged them both tightly. "I love you too, more than anything in the world. We are a team, and we're going to make it through this together." As he left their room, Ethan felt a renewed sense of determination. He was building a new life for his daughters, one filled with love, stability, and hope. The challenges they had faced had only made them stronger, and he was proud of the progress they had made. One weekend, Ethan decided to take Emily and Sophie on a camping trip. It was a chance to get away from the stress and spend some quality time together in nature. They packed their gear and headed to a nearby state park, where they set up camp by a serene lake. The days were filled with hiking, fishing, and exploring the beauty of the outdoors. At night, they sat around the campfire roasting marshmallows and telling stories. Ethan watched the flames dance, feeling a deep sense of contentment. On the last night of the trip, as they sat by the fire, Sophie snuggled up to Ethan. "Dad, I love camping. Can we do this more often?" Ethan smiled, his heart full. "Of course, Sophie. We can come back as often as you like. This is our special place now." Emily looked thoughtful, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "I think Mom would like it here, too." Ethan's smile faltered for a moment, but he quickly recovered. "Maybe one day, Emily. Right now, let's just enjoy our time together." As the fire crackled and the stars twinkled overhead, Ethan felt a sense of peace. They had been through so much, but they had come out stronger on the other side. The future was filled with promise, and Ethan was ready to embrace it with open arms. Back at home, the days continued to pass with a sense of normalcy and routine. Ethan focused on the store, building a strong customer base and ensuring its success. He made time for his daughters, attending their school events and supporting them in their activities. Sarah remained a constant presence in their lives, her friendship and support invaluable. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Sarah turned to Ethan. "You've come a long way, Ethan. I am proud of you." Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. "Thanks, Sarah. I couldn't have done it without you." Sarah looked at him, her eyes filled with emotion. "You know, Ethan, I've been thinking a lot about us, about what we have." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" Sarah took a deep breath. "I care about you, Ethan. More than just a friend. I know we've both been through a lot, but I think we could have something special." Ethan felt a rush of emotions. He had always admired Sarah, her strength and kindness, but he had been so focused on his daughters and the divorce that he hadn't allowed himself to consider the possibility of something more. "Sarah, I care about you too. You've been my rock through all of this. I don't know what the future holds, but I'd like to see where this could go." Sarah smiled, her eyes shining with tears. "I'd like that too, Ethan." As they sat together, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Ethan felt a sense of hope and possibility. The future was uncertain, but he knew that with Sarah by his side, they could face anything. The journey had been long and difficult, but Ethan had emerged stronger and more determined than ever. He had fought for his family, built a new life, and found love and support in the most unexpected places. The road ahead was filled with promise, and Ethan was ready to embrace it with open arms, knowing that he was never alone. Chapter 8. Resolution and Reflection. Ethan awoke to the sound of birds chirping outside his window, the morning sun casting a warm glow across his room. It was a new day, and he felt a sense of peace he hadn't experienced in a long time. As he stretched and got out of bed, he reflected on the journey he and his daughters had been on over the past several months. The turmoil and heartache seemed like a distant memory, replaced by a new beginning filled with hope and love. He made his way to the kitchen where the aroma of freshly brewed coffee greeted him. Sarah was already there, a radiant smile on her face. "Good morning, Ethan," she said, handing him a cup of coffee. "Good morning, Sarah," Ethan replied, taking the cup and savoring the warmth. "You know, it's been a while since I felt this good in the morning." Sarah laughed softly. "That's because you finally have some peace in your life. You've worked so hard to get here, Ethan. You deserve every bit of happiness." Ethan looked at her, his heart swelling with gratitude. "And I couldn't have done it without you, Sarah. You've been my rock." They shared a quiet moment, sipping their coffee and enjoying the serenity of the morning. The girls soon joined them, their laughter filling the house with joy. Emily and Sophie had adjusted remarkably well to their new life, thriving in the stability and love that surrounded them. After breakfast, Ethan decided it was time for a family outing. "How about we go to the beach today?" he suggested, his eyes twinkling with excitement. Emily and Sophie cheered, their faces lighting up. "Yes! Let's go to the beach!" they exclaimed in unison. Sarah smiled, nodding in agreement. "That sounds like a perfect idea. Let us make a day of it." They packed a picnic lunch and headed to the beach, the drive filled with laughter and music. When they arrived, the sight of the sparkling ocean and golden sand took Ethan's breath away. It was a beautiful day, and he felt a deep sense of gratitude for the simple joys of life. As the girls ran off to play in the surf, Ethan and Sarah spread out a blanket and settled down to watch them. "Look at them," Ethan said, his voice filled with pride. "They were so happy." Sarah leaned against him, her smile soft. "They have a lot to be happy about. You've given them a wonderful life, Ethan." Ethan wrapped an arm around her, feeling a sense of completeness. "We've done it together, Sarah. This is just the beginning." They spent the day building sandcastles, playing beach volleyball, and splashing in the waves. The sun was warm, the ocean breeze refreshing, and the sound of the girls' laughter was like music to Ethan's ears. It was a perfect day, filled with love and joy. As the sun began to set, they gathered around the picnic blanket for dinner. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, the beauty of the sunset reflecting the beauty of the day they had shared. Ethan looked around at his family, his heart full. "I want to thank you all for being here with me. We've been through a lot, but we've come out stronger. I couldn't have asked for a better family." Emily and Sophie hugged their father, their love evident in their eyes. "We love you, Dad," Sophie said, her voice soft. "And we are so proud of you," Emily added, her smile radiant. Sarah took Ethan's hand, her eyes shining with tears. "We love you, Ethan. You've shown us all what it means to be strong and resilient. I am so grateful to be a part of this family." Ethan squeezed her hand, his heart overflowing with love. "I love you too, Sarah, and I'm grateful for every moment we've shared." As they watched the sun dip below the horizon, Ethan felt a profound sense of peace. The journey had been long and difficult, but it had led them to this moment, a moment of pure happiness and contentment. That night, as they drove home, Ethan reflected on the road they had traveled. The pain and betrayal were still there, but they had been overshadowed by the love and support of his family and friends. He had rebuilt his life, piece by piece, and now it was stronger than ever. The following weeks were filled with more moments of joy and growth. The store continued to thrive, and Ethan found a new sense of purpose in his work. He cherished every moment with his daughters, watching them grow and flourish in their new environment. One evening, as they sat around the dinner table, Emily looked at her father with a serious expression. "Dad, I have a project for school about family history. Can you help me with it?" Ethan smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "Of course, Emily. I'd love to help." As they worked on the project together, Ethan shared stories of their family's past, the challenges they had faced, and the strength they had found in each other. It was a beautiful reminder of how far they had come and how much they had to look forward to. One day, Ethan received an unexpected visit from Bruce. They sat on the porch, sharing a drink and catching up on life. "Ethan, I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing," Bruce said, his tone sincere. Ethan smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "I am doing well, Bruce, thanks to you and everyone who supported me." Bruce nodded, his eyes warm. "You've come a long way, Ethan. I am proud of you, and I'm glad to see you happy." Ethan looked at his friend, his heart full. "I couldn't have done it without you, Bruce. Thank you for everything." As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Ethan continued to build a life filled with love and happiness. He and Sarah grew closer, their bond strengthening with each passing day. They found joy in the simple things: family dinners, movie nights, and weekend adventures. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the stars, Sarah turned to Ethan with a thoughtful expression. "Ethan, I've been thinking. How would you feel about us taking the next step in our relationship?" Ethan looked at her, his heart racing. "What do you mean, Sarah?" Sarah took a deep breath, her eyes filled with love. "I mean, how would you feel about us moving in together, creating a home for our family?" Ethan felt a rush of emotions. He had always admired Sarah, but now he realized how deeply he loved her. "Sarah, I would love that more than anything." Sarah smiled, her eyes shining with tears. "I love you, Ethan, and I want to build a life with you and the girls." Ethan took her hand, his heart full. "I love you too, Sarah. Let's build that life together." As they sat together under the stars, Ethan felt a sense of completeness he had never known before. The journey had been long and filled with challenges, but it had led him to this moment, a moment of pure love and happiness. The following months were a whirlwind of activity as they moved in together and created a home filled with love and laughter. Emily and Sophie embraced Sarah as a part of their family, and the bond they shared grew stronger every day. Ethan continued to thrive in his work, finding new purpose and satisfaction in the success of the store. He remained deeply involved in his daughters' lives, attending their school events, supporting their interests, and creating lasting memories. One day, as they were unpacking boxes in their new home, Sophie found an old photo album. "Dad, look at this," she exclaimed, flipping through the pages. Ethan sat down with her, his heart swelling with nostalgia as he looked at the photos. They were filled with memories of his childhood, his parents, and the journey they had been on. Emily joined them, her eyes wide with wonder. "These are amazing, Dad. Can you tell us more about these times?" Ethan smiled, feeling a deep sense of connection to his past. "Of course, girls. These photos tell the story of our family, the challenges we faced, and the love that carried us through." As they looked through the album, Ethan shared stories of his parents, their strength and resilience, and the values they had instilled in him. It was a beautiful reminder of the legacy they were continuing, the love that bound them together. As the years passed, Ethan and Sarah built a life filled with love, joy, and fulfillment. They faced challenges together, but their bond only grew stronger. Emily and Sophie flourished, their futures bright with possibility. One evening, as they celebrated another milestone, Emily's high school graduation, Ethan felt a deep sense of pride and gratitude. His daughters had grown into remarkable young women, filled with strength, kindness, and determination. As they sat around the dinner table, surrounded by friends and family, Ethan raised his glass in a toast. "To Emily, Sophie, and Sarah, thank you for being my family, for giving me a reason to keep fighting. Here's to a future filled with love and happiness." They clinked glasses, the moment filled with warmth and love. Ethan looked around at the faces of those he loved, feeling a sense of fulfillment and peace. The journey had been long and filled with challenges, but it had led him to this moment. A moment of pure happiness, surrounded by the people who mattered most. As he looked at Sarah, Emily, and Sophie, Ethan knew that he had found his true home, a home filled with love, hope, and the promise of a beautiful future.